Casting, and this is the after show with Sirstrife, and we have Tom. We have Tom, we have Sam, we have Joshua, we have Atheist Coffee, Live Life, and Rattz.
Word.
And did you get Non-Stand Collector or no?
Who made that?
No.
Now, I try to talk to Atheist on TV. He's watching, I forget what that show is, The Walking Dead, I think it's called. He's watching. I try to get Atheist on TV on Saturday.
I've spoken to him. I've seen that show. I've actually missed the last season, so I cannot catch up to it, honestly.
Yeah, I like that show, although it's a little bit more soap opera-y.
Yeah. Oh wait, the Bible's on tonight.
Yeah, the last part.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is? Guess who it's about? Jesus.
Well,
Jesus.
Well, it's Easter, so you know.
Well, that's the funny thing. I mean, but the funny thing it's about is true. It's a fiction. So I mean, wouldn't it be great for Good Friday?
Yeah, it is Easter. It's originated from pagan tradition. So yeah.
You see, I'm an asshole, so I was born Jewish, so I just went around apologizing to people today.
Well, I mean, seriously, Jesus. What did Jesus do? Let's see. What crime did Jesus commit? He destruction of property. I mean, he killed a fig tree that somebody owned. He killed a pig that somebody owned. He
That someone on the fig tree. Wait a sec.
What?
What?
How do you know that someone on the fig tree?
I mean, it's a fig. I mean, doesn't a fig tree grow fruit?
Yeah, no, but you said someone owned it, right?
I mean, I'm guessing an orchard. I'm
Yeah.
just guessing maybe it was an
Or
orchard.
maybe not. It doesn't specify.
Well, I mean, if it's in an orchard, then he did destruction of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't specify.
Well, okay, but it's set out of season, so okay, but
Yeah, how dare you not grow fruit when you're not supposed to grow fruit? Because
yeah,
it's not
damn you for not giving me instructions.
Yeah, man.
Well, shouldn't he have cursed God instead of the fig tree?
I mean, he is God, right?
Well, but no, man, God hates figs. He really hates figs.
No, he hates fags. God hates
Westboro
fags.
Baptist Church has got the spelling wrong.
No,
God
yeah,
hates
they spelled
figs.
F-I-G to F-A.
Then why did God fucking make figs? See, you stupid atheists and all your bullshit. If God
He
hated
needs something.
figs, he wouldn't have made figs.
They got the
He needs
translation.
He needs
wrong.
something
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than
they got
hate than
fags to
fucking
figs.
atheist.
Maybe
God hates the
it was
gays. Why do they
maybe it
have
was
the
a
best
gay
living?
guy. Maybe he went up to a gay guy and said, "Hey, you're not ripe, so I curse thee." Maybe they got mixed up with the tree to a person. Maybe.
You're not right.
Yeah.
Not ripe with God.
Yeah. Also, the demons into the pigs and then driving them off the cliff. I mean, seriously, some guy owned those pigs, right?
Some poor
That sounds
schmuck.
like something Ted Nugent would do.
Well, that's like, that's
Even
kind
he
of
would
like,
do it with a machine gun from a helicopter.
Yeah, right.
maybe Jesus was just releasing the pigs from their enslaved.
And Jesus was a damn hippie, and they drove him off a cliff.
No, the message is suicide is really the answer.
Well, to kill a demon, you have to break a few bones.
What?
I like cracking some skulls.
Yeah.
I'm all for beating ass. Just beat like that's why I don't understand gay bashing. I'm all for kicking ass, but that's
They got a nice ass, though, Sam.
kick the ass of really good looking guys with good jobs. That's maybe maybe it's possible that I'm just a visionary.
Maybe you're
Right.
not an ass man. Maybe Jesus was the ass man.
What the fuck are we talking about?
I have no
I
idea.
don't know. Do we want to get to a point?
This is the after show. I thought the point was that there is no point.
That is the point.
So we're just gonna fuck around for a while.
We're at the point.
Well, here's
Well,
was
someone
God an
make a
adulterer?
point. Someone bring a point.
Was God an adulterer? I mean, he banged Mary, who was already married to Joseph.
Does that mean Jesus banged his
No,
own
she was
mother?
betrothed. It was she's engaged.
Well,
You
Well,
see,
technically,
silly,
Well, I
married
mean,
under Jewish law.
Premarital sex,
kind
dude.
of
Not okay.
semantic things when you apply them to a religion or a deity or something like that. These rules that are only sensical because we understand each other as individuals don't really make sense when you compare them to an omnipresent being, because he's always been inside Mary. It wasn't a right away thing. It was Joseph just sometimes accompanied him. You know what I mean?
That's the argument that I'm gonna give to like any girl that's angry at me. I was always inside you. So
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. I wouldn't call him
just
a
me.
review.
So how does that make Joseph feel? He's like, dude.
I feel.
Fuck what Joseph feels like. Really? Fuck that guy.
Wait, you ever seen the Family Guy one where like you see where you see Joseph outside the bedroom and you just hear God banging Mary? like you just see him like sitting there he's like yeah, Mary, yeah, and Joseph just out the door just saying there's like ah.
Yeah, I've seen. You know what's funny to speculate? Like, what if Joseph was like an abortionist? That's an interesting speculation. Like, what if Joseph just like pushed Mary down the stairs or fucking something? I wonder how history would have
kick to the stomach.
Well, if he was the Jewish man he would have.
Right. Yeah.
But seriously, he had to pay, I mean, he got married to this woman he did not bang. I mean, isn't he supposed to if you bang a woman who's not wed, you're supposed to pay 50 shekels to the person's father.
No. In the Old Testament, if a husband suspects that his wife is pregnant with another man's child, it was one of the Levitical precepts was they could give her a mixture of poisonous and noxious things and try to induce a miscarriage. I mean, abortion's in the Bible, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was something to do with causing her thigh to swell. I think it wasn't an abortion per se. It was kind of a test to see if she was unfaithful or something. It was you were supposed to put. It was like some priest said bless some kind of water, and it was I forget the exact detail of it, but it was she had to drink this particular water.
It was stuff that would induce a miscarriage. I think it was one of the points.
I didn't know that. I was totally ignorant to that Bible passage. That's interesting. I've always heard people talk about how the Bible condones abortion as well. I've just never read anything like that.
Yeah, no,
I would always.
It wasn't abortion. It was something to do with the thigh swelling, I think.
No, abortion is in the Bible. It's Exodus 21, 22 to 23. Go read it.
My question is if God,
It's
if
always
God
in-
is this all-powerful
Oh, this
being,
was this is the one where you have they give some kind of restitution for
What did you say it was? Exodus what?
21, 22, 23.
Exodus 21.
Oh yeah, if you hit a pregnant woman and she prematurely gives birth, there is no serious injury. The offender must be fined, whatever. Yeah.
My
So
question is that my question is if God, if God's all powerful, why would He not just write a better book so that it was more evidential?
Why didn't God just like beam up J.R. like Tolkien and just say, hey Tolkien, I gave you 50 years, write this book.
Supposedly, and this is something that this is on the side. They're not going to say this is any kind of scientific claim or anything like this, but there was supposedly a more literal revelation. The problem is that it was so crazy that people couldn't understand it properly.
That doesn't sound like
people can't understand it now. How could they understand it back then?
Well, the issue was that it was so like the concepts involved were so bizarre that like you couldn't understand them with like common sense notions, basically.
Well, yeah, it's irrational.
No, it wasn't irrational. When you look, I know this because I've studied this. I have some friends that are looking at this.
Wait, your friend studied it or you studied it?
So weird that you.
What are we talking about? I don't know. I don't think.
Josh, I think this would make more sense if you were high.
Yeah, it might. I don't. What I'm saying is like, okay, so I can't even imagine. You're saying it's nonsensical because it's not nonsensical. It's so not nonsensical that you understand it because you're too nonsensical.
Let's put it this way, like suppose you want to give a kid, that's not a bad analogy, I think. You're trying to explain something to someone that is way over their head, right? You can't explain to them directly. You have to use a metaphor, and the problem with the metaphor is it's not evidential enough. It's not something they can take as common sense. They follow it, and the conclusion is being true, even though how you got to the conclusion makes no sense to them. And that's the issue.
Isn't that just a nice story?
Except the factor involved that is differential to comparing a human to doing that is that the ideas to be conveyed, and you're omniscient, so you know exactly how to convey the ideas exactly so they understand them. That's
omnipotent.
Like if you can't convey something to a child because you don't know it well enough, or you can't break into their mind.
I see. You have to translate it to them properly. That's an interesting.
Well, I mean, you got to admit this though. I mean, you're trying to.
I'm not really a literalist in the direct sense, anyway, so it's not like a direct problem for me.
Well, my question is this: if God is omnipotent, doesn't it naturally follow that even if it's hard to communicate that, he could, because he's that falls under omnipotence. He can do anything.
Dude,
True.
Omnipotence is such a bullshit fucking trait. Like, it's so meaningless, and everyone tries to get around that trait, and it pisses me off so much. They're just like, oh, well, he can only do things that are possible for him to do, and I'm just like, then it's a fucking meaningless trait, because everybody can only do what's only possible for them to do, what's only in their nature to do.
Yeah, that's actually what
Paul just Kenshi just chimed in. He said, if he's listening, he said, knowledge is worth more when acquired by oneself. So I think that might be.
Well, how do you know it's knowledge?
The same way you know other things are knowledge.
You don't.
What? Don't copy.
Yeah, but you know that for 100% certainty.
You don't know what is knowledge
certain?
unless you assume it is knowledge.
But the same way you know anything is knowledge at some level.
Well, but how do you? What is knowledge?
This comes back to epistemology, but I mean, even if we disagree on epistemology, I think we can generally agree that certain claims are knowledge, even if they're.
How do you know it's knowledge, though? The question is. How do you differentiate between knowledge?
It's not good to me unless you've verified it with a scientific method. I'm sorry, it just isn't good to me unless you verify it.
All right. This actually, all right. Tom. So when you brought this, because this actually has to do with science, I said it's very bizarre. There are look up after the show sometime. Look up why there is evil, and the entire video is actually this stuff. I didn't tell anyone because it would simultaneously freak out both my atheist crowd and my fundamentalist crowd. And so I didn't say this, but the entire video, Why There Is Evil, is based on this stuff.
What is evil?
The video.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't
live in this.
No more.
That was the best interjection I've ever heard.
Objection.
Thank you for my life.
It's a very coherent philosophy. It's just that it's esoteric to the point where it's hard to understand unless you have the mental tools to figure it out, kind of thing.
How do you know? Wait, Rattz. How do you know you have the mental tools?
Shut up, man.
Some idealist philosophy, and it follows once you think in idealist terms. The problem is most people's intuitions are materialist, and so your intuitions it's counterintuitive basically. It can be reached, but it's counterintuitive, and so that's why it sounds like nonsense if you hear it on the face of it.
Which is why it's so weak. It just can't hold up anything.
I don't know if I've heard
philosophy. Have you pursued that at any level?
What?
You seem like you're very, very invested in philosophy and this type of proof of God. My question is at what, and this is kind of unrelated, but at what level have you pursued it?
I did philosophy minor. I was always interested in philosophy.
My question is why not pursue this? Because you seem very...
At some point, I was considering possibly getting a degree in philosophy, like a graduate degree in it.
Is there a practical application to that degree?
Well,
not really.
Yeah, I don't see how you can make how you could actually make money off it.
Okay, well here's the issue is that's the thing I'm doing right now as an art college, and I'm thinking of getting a job actually, lab assistant, and I'm also writing science fiction novels on the side to try and make money. But it's something you kind of go into simply because you're interested in the way you want to see the big picture, so to speak, and that's what you're.
I have a weird feeling you're going to be like L. Ron Hubbard in 50 years. I have a weird sensation that's going to happen.
Oh, the science fiction thing, and I end up with...
Yes, I could just see it.
You know, it's actually funny. I've actually told... Dorpaton, you know who Dorpaton is?
Yeah.
He
No.
says I've got a cult going.
Well,
It's pretty hilarious.
well,
It's
that's
like
a
a
good
bunch
thing.
of them are physics nerds, and a bunch of them are conventional theists, and it drives them nuts.
Really.
He's okay. Yeah.
So, Live Life, you have any
I
idea
don't-
for where we can go?
I just-
Because we're going randomly places.
I mean, I just set them up as through the wormhole episode, sort of. It's like, I like doing that, but like he insists on running a cult or something. I'm like, dude, what?
So are
Well,
you
again, all this stuff
actively-
is woo woo. It's just all woo woo that
No,
anybody
it's
can
not.
spin
I'm-
any way, and
I'm
it's just
just-
craziness.
It's not.
Oh, I know, I'm
with
with you on that.
I'm a popularizer, Tom, is all I really am.
What's
Oh,
the
yeah, I
craziness?
understand.
I am so fucking lost. Like everything is up in the air.
You're not alone. Yeah, me too.
I feel like everything is just like,
There has
hey,
been
I'm going
quite-
to talk about this while someone else talks about this, and if they start talking about what I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about something else. So we can't all be talking about the same thing at the same time. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, Josh,
totally-
where do you want to go?
Well, I don't want to go any specific. I don't want to go anywhere. I just don't know where the fuck I am. That's what I'm saying.
Duke University. That is where I would like to go for my PhD. You said, where do I want
Nice.
to go?
Nice. Very literally. Well, I guess I
Why?
want to sit here at my computer, and I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I wish it was that way.
Most of my. Oh, let me dig this up here. I'll put it in the chat bar below.
Just finished on. Also, I got a PDF done. Here it comes.
So, like, Rattz, again, how old? Just to get an idea, how old are you?
Me, I'm 28, almost 20. Well, 29 in a couple months.
All right, we got
So
a
is
little
he
bit of an
legal?
age range.
Well, I've like heard that he's a theist, like I don't know, hearsay kind of thing. Are you a theist, Rattz?
Yeah, I'm a theist.
Okay, that's interesting. Why?
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 I'm an idealist, and I think that. Well, I had the philosophy argument with the introspective argument I told you, and then I think that the physics fits very well with that.
Wait, but you believe in a holographic
that
universe.
to be
How is that a
funny.
god?
Yeah.
How's that a god, though?
What? No, not by itself. The bigger there's a bigger picture is that basically they're saying this is loop quantum gravity as well as some aspects of string theory. They're saying that.
So what
Space-time on
theology do you subscribe to then?
He's asking if you're a
I'm an
Christian.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I actually did I kind of grew up in this Protestant church ever since I was like 3, but actually I've been thinking about it, and my actual theology is probably closer to Eastern Orthodoxy after I've been thinking about it. So. Even though I don't plan to change churches or anything.
Do you believe in the Trinity, Rattz?
Yeah.
Does any of you understand how that Trinity works? Because I honestly don't.
I don't
I have
understand.
an
I don't
idea.
understand his theistic position. That's what I don't understand. I don't
Oh.
understand how
So-
he's like, okay, I believe in quantum physics, and the God that tells you,
Alright. I
like,
have some
like
videos
it's
of
the God that tells you not to boil a baby goat in a pot of its mother's milk. That's the God that you are.
Seems kind of
Because I
silly, to be honest.
see of anything else.
I'm
but
just as confused about some of those things as you are.
What?
I'm just as perplexed about some of those, like hook your baby's goat in the mother's
But,
milk
like-
as you are. So.
But then, like, all these, like the Bible, like, hates gay people. And, like, my question is like, I don't know, I mean, where you're at, I mean, but I personally have no problem with gay people. I see them as the same as straight people. They're just attracted to different people. My question is, why would you purport a book that just vitriolically hates people that really had
I'm
no
not
choice in
saying
the matter
I
to
do.
begin
I'm not saying I do.
Well, that's what
Kind
it
of
is.
are.
Because when you first take on the belief, you're not informed. Jesus loves you. You convert, and you sign at the dotted. It's like you scroll down to the bottom of the software license and you just click I agree. You don't know what the Bible says.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
say that you commit to believing it, and then people drop it on you that, oh, by the way, we hate gays. I mean, and you're so deep into it that you don't know. Okay, I guess you can't back out of it. Then it's been years and years, and you're in Bible study.
Most of the Christians I know don't hate gays either. Most of the Christians I know don't hate gays either.
Well, no, they wouldn't say they do, but they say that their actions are sinful and that their lifestyle is sinful, and they should either be celibate or they should look into reparative therapy. Yeah, and that's hurtful too. That's the same thing in my eyes.
This is
I
my question.
don't functionally see much of a difference between hate. Maybe this is just me being a little bit ridiculous, but I don't see the difference between hatred and what they say about their lifestyle and what they say. I mean, if you can call it that.
Well, I mean, obviously they're peaceful like Westboro, right? There's still like WBC out there, and they act ridiculous, and that's not the majority of Christians.
No, but they actually do follow the Bible literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the literal. Yeah.
They actually are more Christian-y, I would say, than the Christians nowadays. They're like, they're not watered down. They actually are really Christian.
But like, here's my issue. Do you believe that being gay is a choice?
No, I mean, it's you're born with it. It's like I think it's due to like a hormone imbalance, like estrogen imbalance at a very early stage of pregnancy or something like that. That's what I read in Science News way back.
Estrogen imbalance?
There's a variety of factors.
So there is a variety.
Gotcha.
I believe that being gay is as much of a choice as anything else is a choice. That's what I think.
Are you kidding?
Absolutely.
That's funny.
Absolutely. I know it sounds, but like I'm a determinist in one sense.
Do you realize the answer to that is when did you decide to become straight?
Yes.
But that's the point.
Maybe the real God thinks
you didn't choose it. You didn't choose it. You were born, and that's the way you are. And most
at the point I recognize what I'm attracted to, that's when I chose to. At the point that I recognize what I'm attracted to, that's when I chose.
There are times
none of us chose.
Attracted to. I'm not saying I chose what I was attracted to, but I'm not saying that's not subject to change either.
Exactly, and you can't choose to be otherwise. You didn't choose to be attracted to people, and you can't choose to be otherwise. People are who they are. Nobody would choose to be gay because there's so much social pressure the other way that it would be stupid.
But I disagree that anything is a choice essentially. I disagree that's why I say it's as much of a choice as anything else, because like you have this situation. You have this situation in which that's why I said it's as much as anything else. I included that very specifically, and the only reason I say that is because, like, you can be hungry and you can choose to eat or not, and for whatever reason you choose not to eat, you're guided by some other thing that you did not control, that you did not choose. Some external reason is making you not eat, but you did not choose whether or not you felt hungry.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
It's deterministic. It's just the way things are, and yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like if you want to start breaking things up into whether or not things are choices, and you want to think about them existentially like that, which is how I think the arguments are being brought up. Is it existentially a choice? Well, I don't necessarily think that there is a choice. But if you want to break things up into the way you choose things, like you choose to eat because you're hungry.
Well, yeah. But it's don't choose to be straight yet. I mean, I do in a sense choose to have sex or not, but it's a natural outflow of who I am. Based upon what I choose to have sex with.
Wait, if you're raped, are you choosing to have sex?
The whole point is that when it comes down to it, why is it relevant at all whether or not it's a choice? How the fuck is it even relevant?
Because religious fundamentalists condemn them on the basis that it is a choice. And so when you can demonstrate that in many circumstances it isn't, you blow their argument out of the water and completely undermine.
Wait, but so what? It's a choice. If it was a choice, by their position, okay. So the fuck.
You know what? That's the only reason that it matters, because if there's no.
And believing in God is a choice, isn't it? Isn't believing in God a choice?
The only reason that it matters to differentiate is as a choice is to undermine the fundamental.
Not if you listen to Psy.
Sexuality. Yeah, well,
I have, another area where why is it that honoring your father and mother is one of the commandments, but rape, a prohibition against rape isn't? Because what if your father is Joseph Fritzl? Wouldn't you want to not honor
honoring your mother
father?
and your father, no. Honoring your mother and father is key to keeping the dogma alive. Because if you honor your mother and father, you believe what your mother and father will tell you, and the dogma continues generation after generation.
There's another reason, too, which is related to what Tom was saying, but there's another reason, which is social stability. Right? If you have a bunch of rebellious kids, you can't. The society will.
But Rattz, what happens if your parents are abusive and they think that because you?
Okay.
What?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is to propagate the religion.
Yeah.
Right.
Often, I mean, like, it's a general rule, though, is the point. It's like obviously every rule will have its exception, but it's a general principle that, like, if you run a society like this, that society will flourish, even though...
What society is it that you stone your kid?
No, what that does is, that just sets up for failure. Your parents are assholes, but the dogma says to honor them anyway. Beat me with a rod or whatever, that's for my own good. And that's just absurd, and that's a danger.
There's nothing in the Bible about not being an asshole to your kids. There's nothing in the Bible except for there's one verse in the New Testament that says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath," and that's it. But there's no prohibition against beating your kids or yelling at your wife or raping people or
raping your kid.
There are prohibitions against raping people.
Yeah.
It's not
in the Bible.
Well, not commandments.
Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife, I think, is the only thing.
Obviously, there's only 10 commandments there, so it's not like they're...
No, there are over 600 Levitical laws.
I know, but I know that no raping is one of the biblical laws.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
Covet thou neighbor's wife is not rape. Well,
no. It's not in the 10 Commandments. This is in the other
We're talking the Levitical law.
We're talking about the Mosaic law.
You know what's interesting about that covet thy neighbor's wife? What the fuck are you gonna do about it? Like, how the fuck can you not covet? What the fuck are you gonna do about it? You're like, I just want her so much.
Stop it. Childish.
Wait, what happens if your society has polygamy? Does that mean you could covet your neighbor's wife?
That's just so Joseph couldn't get in on the act.
Yeah. Does that mean Joseph covered God's wife?
I think that
the most interesting aspect of that is that it doesn't say thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's husband. Not only does that not cover the homosexual aspect to it, but it also indicates that it was a completely patriarchal system and that women were property and the commandments were solely directed at men.
Well, humans are generally a patriarchal species.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
That doesn't justify patriarchy, though.
It doesn't justify it, no, but it indicates the patriarchal roots of the Old Testament and
it's the sociobiological thing.
The Ten Commandments.
Yeah, but sociobiology. When has sociobiology ever been a justification for any type of behavior?
Well, where do you think we're
only for judging the mentally ill?
Where do you think morality evolved from?
I'm confused about the nature of the question. Wait, sociobiology. So, what is sociobiology?
Google it.
It's the study of how behaviors evolved in terms of social interaction.
Okay, so what was your question again?
It's since when is anything that is socio-biologically wired in the taking off point for any place of what is a correct behavior?
Well, I suppose there is the is-ought gap, but there is the issue of, morality evolved from, functionally you could say there's an is-ought gap, you can't derive an is from an ought, but practically speaking, we have morality came from evolution, and so the point of morality is to propagate the species. Is for the benefit of the species, and so that which benefits the species on the whole is. And
also for us to live, amicably among each other.
Yeah, well, that helps propagate the species. It kind of ties into, in a sense, and this is kind of a...
Does slavery help propagate the species, Rattz?
Yeah, there's not... No. Ethical behavior is not part of what evolved. It's a very, very small subsection of human behavior is actually ethical. If you look at how
Right.
Historically, we are the least violent right now that we've ever been. Steven Pinker wrote an entire book about it. And
Where does our
Is that
ethics
least
come
violent proportionately? Is that proportionately least
proportionately, yes.
Okay.
We
So-
just had the least violent century of all time.
Which Steven Pinker book are you referring to?
It's called the Better Angels of Our Nature.
Is there a
Okay.
lot of
I haven't-
evidence? Is there a lot of
The
evidence?
20th was actually more violent.
No,
20th
it wasn't.
Was more.
Statistically, it was not.
Is there a lot of evidence for that?
There's a
claim?
ton of evidence.
Well,
Okay.
hold on.
Well, the only reason I think-
21st, or is he still like
The
focusing on
20th.
certain parts of the?
The 20th was the least violent proportionally. You're forgetting that,
Oh, because
our
it's the size
prehistory was-
population.
yeah.
Okay, because I mean I would
Because as population grows,
population grows, but I would think the 19th would actually be.
No, if you look at it almost very
Dude,
consistently.
19th century,
Okay.
you fuck-
We had the Civil War. We had the Boxer Rebellion. We had the Spanish American War.
We had like the Maoists and Stalinists and.
We had the
Nazis.
French Revolution. No wait,
You're-
no wait. That
you're
was a
picking
century
cases
before.
Rather than you're picking out cases rather than the global picture.
Global picture. Okay. I suppose in the global picture it averages out.
I think that
Fair.
in cases, the century that had the most world wars, isn't that they called it a world war because it was most global, right?
World War
On the
One, I
top-
guess, was European mostly.
Yeah, I'm a novice on this subject, but they call them world wars. I would say that because they involve the most violence from the most nations, right?
Yeah, it was over most of the world. There's some really good documentaries that are awesome to watch on. I mean, it's worth educating yourself in regards to the world wars. They are absolutely fantastic.
Oh, I got one you should watch. Look up a thing called The World at War.
Yeah, The World at War. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, from
That's
the
World
military
War
channel,
II.
right?
Absolutely fantastic.
That one's the best on the World War One. That one's the best.
Guys, I gotta get out of here. Thanks, man. I've been muted for 20 minutes. I've been trying to talk. I'm like, what the hell? They're ignoring me. So
Oh,
Oh,
I'm a-
sorry.
Have a good one.
there's music. I'm like, oh shit. So I gotta get going. I gotta get this video done. So yeah, thanks for letting me on tonight.
yes,
I'll put a link to your channel in the video.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right,
You
guys.
live life, man.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. No, I just
Rance, I have a question. You seem to, when we've gone over some of like the kind of spookier and scarier doctrine, you seem to sort of shy away from actually believing in it. But so my question is what do you actually believe in terms of the Christian doctrine? Because it sounds like you just believe there's a God.
Oh, let's see here. Trinity, I believe. Heaven and hell.
So wait, Rattz, don't you then by default believe in the Matrix?
I told you I believe in the Matrix.
What?
You said don't I in default believe in the Matrix?
Well, is heaven in the universe?
No. I already told you I don't believe. I believe in. I said that.
Do you believe in the resurrection?
Yes.
So how did that happen? Because we don't really have evidence for it happening, and additionally, it's impossible to. I mean, it's literally violating the physical laws of the universe too.
You're assuming that you can't hack the universe's hologram.
Yeah, but I'm also assuming that based on the fact that no one else has at any point. It's
No,
special
but
pleading if you say it's just this case.
Does that mean Jesus is Nero?
What I'm saying is it doesn't violate the laws of physics if the world is idealist. But you see the whole concept.
But this is fucking silliness. I can make any irrational claim, absolutely any irrational. It doesn't even have to.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't even have to be coalescent. Let me finish my point. It doesn't even have to be coalescent verbally. I can say if any random letters of words, then any random conclusion I want. It doesn't lend any variability to like anything. You know, it's not even a hypothetical situation. It's just fun.
Two things on this. And first of all, I can't use this as an argument because obviously this is personal experience, so I can't use this on you. I'm just telling you where I'm kind of coming from. I have seen things in the past that you would think of as supernatural in nature. I wouldn't define them as such, but you would define them that way.
Like
And so
such as
telepathy.
What?
Don't ask.
how?
Don't ask because it's fucking silliness, and I don't want
It
to.
sounds crazy. I'm telling
How do you know it's
telling-
telepathy? How do you know it's telepathy if you can only read your own mind?
if I only read my own mind?
Well, how do you know? How do you know you're reading the other person's mind if you're the one doing it?
No.
The other person was reading my mind and actually.
How do you know?
Because she was saying things that she couldn't have known otherwise.
Well, it's
Like,
confirmation
things I was
bias.
thinking
Oh,
about. Right.
No.
It was a specific case. I feel funny talking about it because it sounds crazy and like I'm not talking about this because it just sounds completely berserk nuts. But I have seen a couple of things. I can get you someone on the show.
Because you know it's an indefensible position.
No,
Well,
I
you
don't
know,
know how to explain it fully. Okay, I'm saying.
But this happens to me all the time. This happens to me all the time. My wife and I will be sitting on the couch, and I'll just turn to her, and a random thought pops into my mind, and I say it to her, and she's like, "How did you know I was thinking about that?" Hey, you know what? These things happen all the time. These coincidences happen in life, and if you give them like importance in your life, and you think, "Wow, that's amazing," then of course, you know, like, "Wow, that's supernatural." Then it becomes supernatural to you. But you know what? In those instances where it happened to me, I didn't say it was supernatural, and it didn't become supernatural.
May I ask a question?
Ask away.
What attributes do you give God? That's what I wonder.
See, omnipotent, omniscient.
Oh my God.
Well, it's just pretty simple. I mean, if you're an idea
The biggest question for me is, how do you know God knows everything?
Everything's inside God's mind.
But you don't know that. You can never know that. You can never know you know everything.
Everything is inside of God's mind.
Okay,
That what you just said?
If we can deduce on basic principles that monistic idealism is true, then there has to be a largest mind, right? You say you get the next level up, and so.
But how do you know he knows everything?
My question is how is the idea of a mind coherent outside of the universe?
That's a good question.
Because even by your own model, by your own model, the only way that we are acquainted within a mind is that we're acquainted with minds is from the perspective of being inside a mind. But you haven't actually defined what that outside mind is.
In terms of like.
Yeah, how? No, I mean we've never. The first thing you're going to disagree, but we've never seen a mind without a brain.
I know. Okay.
We've also never seen a mind outside of the universe. If the universe is in God's mind, well then how in the hell do you arrive at that if we've never seen a mind outside of the universe?
You ever seen this Futurama episode with the floating brains?
Well, actually, Sam, I'm gonna answer that question. So if you accept, and you don't accept necessarily, but if you look into the physics, you're not.
No. I want an answer of how a mind can exist outside of this.
How a mind can exist well, I define a mind as an integrated information system.
That's fantastic, but we've never seen an integrated out. We have never. There's no evidence that there's an integration system, information system outside of the universe.
All right, look up my video for the atheists. It's a little. Don't take it personally. I was kind of pissed at some. I kind of made it more aggressive, partially for show value.
That's okay. We're all pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Do you see where my objection is coming from? Because you're defining something that is essential. When I think of the essential properties of a mind, other than it being, even if I grant you that it's not tied to a brain, even if I grant you that point, an essential property of it is that it's in the universe.
Hold on. Let me explain.
Just like I'm in the universe.
Let me explain the argument, okay? Actually, if you look, I have a couple videos on this. I have one, Science Mind.
Also, how is that mind outside the universe aware of anything outside the universe because it has no senses?
No.
I mean, for fuck's sake, what religion does is it conjures up images of things. God, heaven, hell. These are concepts based on words and.
Well, let him.
This is.
You asked me how I can conceive this, and I'm trying to give you some way to conceive this. I conceive of. See, you guys are looking at this kind of a realist intuition, which is everyone has a realist intuition, but I'm saying.
Get at it, please.
But it's an unrealistic.
It's the universe is God's lucid dream.
And what happens if God wakes up?
A dream that's outside of the universe.
No, the universe. God is.
No. But how can that? I know what you're saying. I know what the words. They're not.
I'm a panentheist, so I think that God is both inside and outside the universe. God is strictly outside the universe.
But we've never seen a mind that operates that way, and we have no reason to accept that a mind in principle, could operate that way. How do you get around that?
Well, I would say that we have reason to believe that our minds are actually in space. Our minds are peering in through space, but that I would turn the argument on its head and say I'm arguing from an idealist paradigm, and so I can say, well, my mind is real, space is an illusion, and therefore my mind isn't actually in space, it's in a VR construct. It's looking at a VR construct that looks like space.
So then where does that put... I mean, that still doesn't solve much of the problem, because you still...
Well, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can hear you. I'm back.
What happened there?
I mean,
Okay.
that...
It must have dropped out somehow.
I mean, it's still... I still don't think you can get around the fact that it's... I mean, everything that we know indicates that, you know, the mind is... Even if you don't accept that the mind is an emergent property of the brain, which you don't, you can't deny that brains are connected to minds.
Yes, actually, I have that in my, I explain part of that in my Science Behind the Soul video, and I do say they're connected to minds, but I think the correlation is the other way around. I use retrocausality and quantum.
How could you even remotely demonstrate that, though?
Well, there is gamma synchrony, which is kind of an interesting...
What is gamma synchrony? I mean, could you design an experiment to test mechanisms?
I'm not. I had Hammeroff explain this in the video. I'm not obviously neuroscience.
But he's not a neuroscientist.
He's messing with non-physical things. He's trying to vouch. What you're asking for is a physical representation of non-physical things.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, we deal with stuff in physics all the time, which is technically...
Well, I'm not talking about physics. I'm talking about neuroscience.
Okay, well...
I mean, how... The problem is that you're making a claim
let's...
that is just in no sense demonstrable and just seems like it's, no offense, complete and utter mental masturbation and nonsense.
Well, okay, let's take off the philosophy more and just look at the science of this, and you see if you can conceive of this as being true, even if you don't agree with it, right? So, first of all, entanglement, right? You have two particles.
How I'm gonna stop your... I'm asking how you would demonstrate that this is...
demonstrate? Well, you have to set up a theory to show how it's possible.
But I'm asking, you're jumping to like levels of understanding of the mind that aren't there.
How you would demonstrate it would be if you would find that consciousness is correlated to something that entails quantum entanglement. If the direct neural correlate of consciousness was a quantum entanglement phenomenon, then you could demonstrate that the mind is...
Are you saying that if my brain could somehow move some subatomic particle, that justifies it? Is that where you're going with that?
No. If your mind is correlated to an uncollapsed wave function, then your mind is outside space.
But how would you demonstrate? Like, what's a way of demonstrating that?
Okay, so no, hang on one second. So is this like electrical induction, where I can induce electrons through the air from one coil into another coil and make a spark, for example, or a transformer would be a better example? So this transformation of my mind into another entity, is that what you're going with that? If so, we should be able to detect that.
Well, okay, hold on. We have this thing. Hammeroff was explaining this, and he said that he's an anesthesiologist, right? And so what he does is he says that gives people anesthetic, and it turns off the gamma synchrony in their brain, and they're instantaneously unconscious, right? And he says at the same time, all the same neural computations that you normally are correlated with consciousness somehow, they're still actually going on at the same time the gamma synchrony is off, but the person's out like a light. And so when you turn it back on, when the anesthetic wears off, gamma synchrony comes back on, and the person is conscious again, just like that. So it turns out, and I have to look at the papers up on this. I emailed him a while back, and I got some stuff, but I have to probably email him again about this. But he had some papers that were showing that the only way for gamma synchrony to make sense is if it operated via quantum entanglement. And so the
You're
point that
not.
is,
You're completely discounting simple chemical reactions here, and
well, it's two proteins, okay, on two different
Well,
sides of the brain, and they oscillate in conjunction. But the thing is that when they only do that, they only have that when they're entangled, and that's when the gamma synchrony is on. When the gamma synchrony is
all right.
off.
So where's the supernatural in that?
Well,
what's the science?
supernatural.
I mean,
Where's your,
I don't
where's
believe
your
in
God?
supernatural. I don't
Assuming
believe
it
in
even true.
I mean, I'm not.
Wait, what? You don't believe in the supernatural? What?
As such, I believe in a super physical.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I'm a monist. Supernaturalism is kind of you have supernatural versus natural it's a byproduct of substance dualism, right?
Is this the same thing that created the universe, or no?
Yeah.
I have to go in a couple of minutes, but I was wondering if you could
All
send
right,
me that paper
let's
because
come
you seem
back
to kind of.
because I feel like no one understands what the hell he's talking about.
Well, that's what I wanted to
Totally.
mention.
I don't think
I-
this guy. What the
Hold
fuck?
on.
Obviously, with all the Inquisition and all this, no one understands what he's talking about, and he's not very good at elaborating, because if he was, we'd all understand it. So let me change the subject and ask another question then. When I asked you about the properties of God, you said omnipotence and omniscience. Now, what is your version of omnipotence that you think works without the paradox?
You mean the omnipotence paradox?
Yeah. No. Just the omnipotence paradox.
Oh, can God create something bigger that he can't lift?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that God can instantiate any logical system. No, God couldn't be irrational. God's limited by logic. So that's kind of a semantic trick on omnipotence, though. That's all. I mean, when you say God can do something, it has to be a thing first, and a contradiction isn't a thing, right?
What?
Does that make sense? Okay, when you say God can do anything, right? God is omnipotent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're the one that's saying that, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. If that's what you agree that omnipotence is, that thing has to actually be a thing, a contradiction. Like you can't say God can make a square circle because that's not a thing. That makes no sense. That's it's kind of
Well,
gibberish.
this is the can he make a rock so big that he can't lift it argument.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that the rock's so big he can't lift it is equivalent to the square circle. It's
Right.
kind of it's kind of a nonsense. What?
Can
Well,
God
yeah,
something?
he can bang Mary and not feel bad about it.
Can God do something that goes against his nature? Is essentially like if he can't, then he's not omnipotent, and that's like.
Okay. I guess I would define omnipotent in a different way that you guys would define it.
But and then that continues like if he's all powerful, if he just holds all more power than any other thing, and he's a deity, then that just makes him a dictator, and you worship a dictator. In the event that he can't do anything that goes against his nature, then he's in the same boat as everyone else. No one can do anything that goes against their nature. So what is special about his omnipotence? Nothing. And in any other sense, and let's talk about omniscience. I can't find an omniscience paradox just from omniscience. So I created one. And this is the paradox. Does God know everything about his nature?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so God knows everything about his nature. Does he not know how to not be in his nature?
That's a malformed question, basically.
It's not a malformed.
You're asking him, does he know how to instantiate a contradiction?
Does he know how to rescind from his own nature? If he knows everything, if he knows every decision he's ever going to make, he knows it, concrete. Does he know how not to make that decision then?
He's outside time. It doesn't make sense for him to then change the decision because changing.
That's a convenient distinction. That's convenient. Just to say he's outside time, that's a meaningless statement.
Right, exactly. I agree.
Why is that meaningless?
Because you can't quantify outside time. You can't
describe that.
Yeah, you can.
It's just a
Well, once again,
convenient
though,
out.
if he's going to be,
Yes, you
dimension
can.
he's no, whatever dimension he's coming from, wherever land of woo he's coming from, the millisecond he shows up here, we can see it, or we should be able to see it.
We're
You know
in
what?
time.
If
Time's
he's
an
out,
illusion.
if he's outside time, can he go back in time and change things that happened in the past?
From our perspective, but
From our perspective, so like everything would just
okay,
change around
think
us.
of it like this: there's
Come
like a film strip, right? You've heard of the B theory of time versus the A theory of time.
Yes.
Okay, basically my view is that God is in this timeless state, looking down at a film strip, and all the interactions he's done, he's already doing in his.
How
his
the
narrative.
fuck? How the fuck do you conceive of a timeless state? This is interesting to me.
Well, it's a
Mathematics.
conception. Like I said, it's
There you go.
it's a projection. It's a conception that doesn't have any basis in reality.
No, it has a very direct basis in reality. Look on
No,
the,
it doesn't. You even said it has the basis outside of reality, for crying out loud.
When we talk
Hold on.
about time and the Big
No,
Bang,
outside the universe.
when we talk about time in the Big Bang, we're talking about time in relation. We're talking about space-time in relation to space, because it was an expansion of space, and you can understand a smaller space, and you can't understand, like, it's practically incomprehensible to understand space outside of space. So it was just an expansion of space and time's relation to space. So in that,
Well, they actually do have. I mean, it's hard for us to conceive of that, except for maybe the virtual reality concept. But physicists deal with this kind of stuff all the time, where they I got a lecture, hour-long lecture by Fotini Markopoulou from the Perimeter Institute, and she's modeling the universe as without space. She says it's all an emergent process of information which exists outside space, and that's now. Can you imagine that very directly? No, probably not. Or maybe you could think of it as ideas, maybe in that sense. But the point is that they deal with this all the time because they said the math works out, and they actually use these concepts a lot.
does the math work out for space too?
Yep. It
Well, then,
generates space.
what the fuck is the point?
Well, the point is that it generates space. It's more fundamental than space, and it's what actually space-time emerges from.
So you're saying that space does exist because space doesn't need to exist?
No, space is an emergent effect of information, much the same way that space in your computer game is an emergent effect of information on the hard drive.
But it doesn't actually take up any space.
No, it doesn't really exist. It's an illusion.
In other words, it's bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit. Look, I give you the physics on this. I can point you to the scientists that, other than me, that are saying this, including popular science books.
Okay, so the physics behind it.
Yeah,
And,
there's.
and again, this indicates God. I guess I don't get it. I just don't make that leap.
Well, we're setting
You're
up.
you're saying that particles can maybe exist outside of some detectable current, some way that we can't detect it currently. I guess
Actually,
where-
I'm saying there are no particles.
we're all in the same state.
There is no spoon.
It's all just a big.
That's correct. That's correct.
You're saying that you believe that this is a simulated world.
Not in a conventional sense, but yes, functionally.
Okay, so functionally this is a simulated world. How do you know that the simulated world is not from a simulated world, and where do you get God from that? That's a good question. Where do you get God from that?
I have an answer to this one, actually. If it was a simulated world, okay, so in our world we have what are called qubits, okay, quantum bits, and they have, on your hard drive you have ones and zeros forming the information that runs your computer, right? Well, a qubit is a superposition of a 1 and a 0 at the same time, and sometimes it's even more than that. It's, you can do a single bit, you're storing a whole bunch of information on it. Now, the thing is that our universe is made of qubits. So now, if the next world up was classical and did not have virtual reality, you can derive directly from entanglement that space is an illusion. I have a video on that. It's a little tinkering, and that follows from quantum superposition. So the point is that if our world is not, the next world up is not in a simulation, that universe would have to simulate all of the qubits in our universe on a classical hard drive.
I am familiar
That
with
would
all
have-
these things that you're saying here, but you're making a leap. You're taking the science, and there is real science in what you're saying, and real findings. But then you're taking a leap and saying, and linking it to your belief, and linking it to things
Right,
that
well,
you
that's an additional
suppose
step.
to be true.
That's
I know it's
an
yeah,
additional
and
step.
and that's
I,
where
I make that.
that's
it's
where
not
we
something
would have a problem with that. It making the leap.
Yeah, well, I don't just make the leap when you watch the video. I actually I step up. I go with the physics, and then I go into the philosophy of mind after, and I like it's very methodical, so to speak. I'm just setting. I got to get the basics up before I can get to the next step. Is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so the issue is if the next world up is not a quote-unquote virtual world as well, that universe would not have quantum bits in it, and so therefore all the quantum bits that are in our universe that have all that exponentially compact information in it would have to be stored on an exponentially less compact hard drive on the next universe up, which would, if you do the math on it, would have to be exponentially larger than the size of the universe. They would actually have had to construct an actual material hard, classical hard drive.
You're not making any sense when you define universe as there being a universe outside of a universe.
Okay,
Well,
if we're in a
ultimately just
simulation.
and this is all just infinite regression. Where does that end up going? You're not just going to
Okay, so
ultimately go back to where does God come from? I mean,
Okay, well, the point is that it would have to be, since we can acknowledge that a hard drive bigger than the universe is ridiculous, that it has to be virtual reality physics all the way down, which means that it's quote unquote not real in the sense that we think of as real all the way down, and so it's not just a matter of there is
well,
a
whatever.
material
Call it energy. Call us all one big universe energy. And the universe that created this universe, I'm sorry, the guy that created this universe has a big energy ball, and no problem for him. It's infinite regression. Where did that come from?
Where did the whole thing come from?
Well, ultimately, if you're claiming God, well, where did God come from?
Where did God come from?
I
Actually,
mean, that's where it's all going to come back to.
All right, it's actually kind of interesting because you're probably not going to hear this from any of the theists, and I actually had a video in mind for this. You've heard of Max Tegmark's mathematical universe hypothesis?
Well, if you're going to prove God with mathematics, you're going to lose me because there's just
No. It's ontology. It's with an ontology argument. This kind of goes back into the whole why there is something rather than nothing, which is kind of a problem for both atheists and theists. So either it's a eternal universe or eternal physical whatever or an eternal God, and so
Well, it's not if you've read Lawrence Krauss.
It does. Even if you haven't read,
supposes-
even if you haven't read Lawrence Krauss, the only problem with that, the only essential problem with that, is that you can't admit your ignorance. And like these scientific theories that we don't know and that we can't test, it comes down to the situation where you're like, I don't know, and that's the fact. Like, why is there something rather than nothing? I don't know.
I have a theory on this.
Which is the honest position.
Well, you may have a hypothesis. Let's be
Hypothesis.
clear.
Okay, and I theory in the general sense of the word. First of all, by the way,
Well, fair enough.
Lawrence Krauss doesn't actually have nothing. He has zero net energy, but he needs a 0-point field, and he needs space-time for that 0-point field to exist to keep
Well,
the whole
sure.
thing. So it's not actually nothing. He still has to account for. Of course, then you could say, well, how do you account for God, which is a fair thing. So I'm just going to give a shot at this, and this is kind of speculative, so just bear with me. So you guys didn't agree with it, obviously, or you'd be theists, but you guys understood my introspective argument, right?
No.
Okay, where the mind is immaterial, or mind could exist in an immaterial solipsist universe. Matter could not exist in an immaterial solipsist universe, therefore the mind is immaterial. Dualism is false, therefore the only substance that exists is mind, and monistic idealism is true. And that you get to God doesn't explain why God exists, though. Why is there a mind rather than no mind? And so I had this why there is something rather than nothing video, and there's this guy named Max Tegmark. He's an atheist, actually, but he has this really cool idea that ultimately everything is actually made of mathematics. Sounds kind of tripped out, doesn't it?
You know what it fucking sounds like? It sounds like Platonism. That's what it sounds like to me.
It is Neoplatonism. He's a Platonist. He's just not a theist, but yeah, he's a Platonist. And so what he's saying is that he thinks that everything we could describe in the universe with math, and so if there is something additional to the math, we could never actually detect it by science, and therefore it would be meaningless. And so ultimately, it's all mathematics at bottom. And then he says basically, well, if you watch, I have a video why there's something rather than nothing, and he kind of explains this, and he says, we can always imagine, if we say, well, what created the universe, then we're asking the question, well, what created the universe, and so on and so forth. You have an additional thing that created that thing, and he says, well, there is one kind of thing that you can imagine just being in a non-arbitrary way, which is a Platonic form. Like you can think of the number 2, for example, or the square, or the
2 is God.
The cube.
I always
well,
knew
not 2.
number 2 is God.
42.
God, I thought that was 13 that whole time. Damn.
Yeah. So anyway, you have these mathematical concepts, right? Like the cube or whatever, and these just are. You can't imagine the number 2 not existing at some point, right? It doesn't make any sense to say that it didn't exist here and then or the number 2 exists here but not over there.
I can imagine that before I can imagine most of the things you're saying. I can imagine the number 2 not existing because I can imagine that everything is just absurd and meaningless and senseless.
I just watched Event Horizon the other week, so I can imagine pretty much anything.
Gotcha. I'm trying to give you, this is speculative, of course. I'm just trying to give you an idea. This is my own personal kind of idea of how this works, and it's speculative. So you asked me how I thought that why God exists rather than not exists, and this is my own pet hypothesis. So then, you bring in Brian Greene, and he had this really cool, this interview, and he was saying, he was talking about the simulation argument, and he says, I don't take this seriously, but he said, there's this really cool conclusion you can reach from this. And he said, let's imagine that we are actually in a computer simulation right now. And he says, well, what are we then? You could say we open up the hard drive where, there's machinery in there, but then, well, we're not really the machinery, we're the ones and zeros on the hard drive.
All right, listen, no, I don't want to interrupt here again, but you totally lost me again. Where did God come from? Get to that in a couple 5 sentences if you could.
I was going to basically say that you can equate mind with mathematics at some level with this Platonism, and then.
All right, so you're saying God lies in mathematics?
Yeah, it's the mathematical universe hypothesis.
And so you think that with all this convolution and all this speculation, that Occam's razor slices for your side?
Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, I promise I'm much better writing things out or presenting things in video form than I am talking, to be honest.
Well, I understand that. But it's the common man should easily be able to pick this nature of God thing up. And if every single person on the savannah in Africa has to understand physics to understand God,
exactly,
millions of souls are now going to die.
I'll give you 2 philosophy videos, okay? This hopefully will actually give you a 3rd philosophy video. This is all philosophy. You can. Why is the IM not working? Hold on here.
I prefer something tangible. Philosophy is ideas. Can't we come up with a Sears Roebuck explanation?
Why there is something rather than nothing, right? I mean, it kind of Tegmark and Green are both physicists, so they're kind of they're playing with the border of physics and philosophy. But I mean, when we're asking really fundamental questions, you kind of can't avoid philosophy, right? I mean, you can functionally avoid it most of the time, but you can't avoid it all the time.
Well,
I don't know where even to go with that. That's of course you can.
I mean, how would you propose that you can? How would you propose why there is something rather than nothing? I mean, whether you're an atheist or a theist, everyone has a problem with this one. Like, either you can ask why does God exist, or you can ask why does the universe exist. And at the bottom, it's
But it's okay to say I don't know. It's okay because there are so many things that we can know. We can look around at reality, and in the end, a lot of these discussions, a lot of these philosophical discussions, take us away from the reality of the moment, the reality that's around us. And sure, there is something rather than nothing, and it's okay to say I don't know, and that's pretty much my position. Yeah, there are some scientific ideas based upon quantum physics, whatever, but it's okay to say, and I say I don't know because we can. But we can't posit things outside of that. If we posit all kinds of supernatural events and occurrences and beings and everything, but really we don't know those things, and we posit them anyways. Like just like why we posit there's something rather than nothing. We don't know, but what we really should do is be honest and say I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is, I mean, I don't actually know. You guys asked me the question, so I figured I'd do my best shot at
it always
my best.
Like it always boils down to your ignorance, because even if you did successfully convey why there is something other than nothing, you would still have to convey why that is the case. Like you can never. It's existentially, it's an unanswerable question. Just like when you're talking about anything, you take things emergently as emergent properties. That's the only way human beings can function in reality, and that's what Atheist Coffee is talking about. You can only function at an emergent level, because other than that, you're always left with questions. You're always left with, if you say it's a mathematical universe and everything boils down to math, how is that the case? Or how can that be? How can there be no physical world and only math? And you have to ask why there is then math that is not physical. And you have to ask how it generates what it generates. And it's like Alice in Wonderland, only you're in the deepest fucking rabbit hole, and you don't even have a choice but to continue going down the rabbit hole.
We're actually taking some atheists down there. They're no longer atheists. Sorry, someone back on. We're actually taking some atheists down there. They're no longer atheists, but they actually enjoy it down the rabbit hole. But anyway, I'm not saying I know. I'm just, you guys asked my own view on this, and this is my speculation.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, we don't have any like bad feelings or anything. It just, spirited discussion is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and the second thing is epistemology, and this I would say, like, how do you know, like because you can always ask the next question, is think of it like this, right? So we do know that we know something, because to say that we know that there, if I said I know that there is no knowledge, I'd be contradicting myself, right?
Yeah.
No, we don't know that. No, we don't know that we know something, and that's the simple fact. That's the out that epistemology gives you, because you can admit that you don't know, even what you don't know, and that does sound contradictory, but that's the point of epistemology. Like,
well, it depends on your epistemology. Because this was the argument that Plato originally gave. He said, we know that we know something, because to say that there is no knowledge is self-contradictory. So we know there is knowledge, and so therefore, then he goes into this question, well, knowledge is just, he defined knowledge as justified true belief, which is kind of where it's at with epistemology. And so then how do you justify something? Well, you have premises and an argument. You need to prove those premises with more arguments, and so on and so forth. And so then you have this infinite regress, but you can't get true knowledge with an infinite regress. And so Plato basically said is, at some point you have to cap this off with something that it can't be proven, but it has to be known innately. Like you know it simply because it's not something provable, but it's not something that's unknowable either. You just know it innately. And so
and those things are usually explained away by evolutionary processes. We innately learn to run from fire. We innately learn to
more fundamental than that. He's not talking about instincts. He's talking about kind of like what Descartes did, right? Where he said,
well, your feelings, certainly, those are all brain activities that have been evolved into place over millions of years, or not that long, hundreds of thousands of years.
Well, I mean, those are. I mean, obviously there are instincts which have evolved over time, like monkeys are afraid of snakes and so forth. But the issue is that, there are certain things that we just know, right? Like I exist. That's a very basic one, right?
Sure.
So that would be an example of innate knowledge that we know. We can't really prove it because, well, what does it mean to prove it? Who's doing the proving?
You have to have a perception. But what's the difference between nothing ever existing and you not perceiving anything ever?
I wouldn't know. If I didn't exist, I wouldn't know.
That's the point. That's the whole point of epistemology. The only reason you know something is because you have to
exist. Right. I exist, so.
But when you don't exist, when you didn't exist, because you didn't always exist, right?
Right.
And the only reason you have to believe that your matter did exist at some point in time, the only reason you have to believe that is because you have an outward perception. But at that point in time, what's the difference between nothing
Oh, I'm sorry if you're making noise with your. Go ahead, sir. Sorry. Go ahead. Say that again, Joshua.
Right. What's the difference between not being able to perceive anything and nothing existing?
Well,
I can
imagine
get to the
situation. I can imagine the situation.
Get to the solipsist argument because you can't answer that question. But then you have to ask, if there is nothing, where does your mind come from? And that's the whole point of the demonstration that Sam was giving when he was like, have you ever seen a mind outside of, how can you demonstrate a mind outside of a body?
You guys should talk to my friend Alex. He has an opinion on this.
Really?
Special. He was an atheist a couple of years ago. He has a very special opinion on this, though, and for a very particular reason.
Well, we'll bring him on the show next week.
I'll see if I can ask him. He's kind of shy of some of the stuff, but I'll see if I can ask him to come on.
Yeah, you could put up a photo and nobody would know.
Okay, all right. If you think some of my stories were a little wild.
Oh, don't you worry about that. I was a young Earth creationist, fundamentalist, independent Baptist pastor, so I know exactly.
No. I mean, like he's in terms of things that he's seen.
Well, I've seen things too, and I'm still an atheist.
These were. He told me in private that he said that he couldn't be an atheist after seeing this, even if he wanted to. That don't do see.
Hearsay.
I talked to him multiple times, and I was on Facebook. I was talking with him directly on Facebook, and I was on the telephone as well at the time.
See, I've got friends and family who have seen things like skeletons running after their cars and stuff. I mean, seriously. I mean, I know
this was an ongoing problem. I'll just let him explain it in his own.
Yeah.
It'd be better if he explained it. So. I mean, granted, I suppose I could, in extreme states, that maybe he was lying, but there's a point.
Oh no, I mean, people's experiences are real to them. I mean, I'm not going to discount that.
Yeah, this was of the variety that it would be very hard to simply hallucinate.
Well, people hallucinate hard things all the time.
No. The problem is that there was more than one person at the time that was.
But in your circumstances, there's so much variability in the universe that you cannot account for. There's so much of variability that who's to say what's hard to hallucinate and what's not. You have so much variability because of your belief in a virtual reality that this is a virtual, like a simulated reality, that nothing would be different. Nothing could be possibly considered difficult to hallucinate. Like,
so at the same sense, then nothing could be conceived of as being impossible, save for like a contradiction.
My problem with that.
If it was a virtual reality, you could. If it was a virtual reality, then the universe would quite literally be stranger than we can imagine, with all kinds of.
My problem with that is these people have amazing supernatural experiences, apparently to them. I mean, but. And they rest their entire faith upon these amazing supernatural experiences.
I can explain some of the stuff.
But why don't I have that? Why don't the rest of us have that? Why do a few people? Why do a few people have these amazing experiences? The rest of us have to take your word for it.
Atheist coffee. I have a theory on that, and the reason is I've had a couple.
Right.
I have a theory on this. Okay. I have a theory on this. Hypothesis.
Yep.
Okay. I've had a couple of other, not of his variety, but I've had a couple of odd experiences that are more along the lines of what Carl Jung was getting at. Okay, here's the thing, right? You know about lucid dreams?
Yes.
Okay, this is kind of cool. Okay, so now in a lucid dream, when you don't realize it's a dream, you can can bump into stub your toe and your toe's going to hurt and you can't do anything about it and everything's going to be solid as real.
Yeah.
You can't change anything.
I've had a lucid dream.
Okay, now, that's because you don't believe that, you believe it's real, you don't believe that your mind's above it or whatever.
Well, you're in control of the dream.
Once you realize it's a dream,
yeah,
or once you get like a hint maybe that it's a dream, or maybe that there is something, quote-unquote, transcendent to this, what appears to be a physical world, all of a sudden you get strange abilities, right, in the dream?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is going to sound kind of solipsistic and kind of insane and kind of down the rabbit hole, but
that's okay, I expect that.
Okay, what if we take the universe to be a gargantuan lucid dream, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And now
this is the Brahman here.
Yes, no, it's God's dream, but in the same sense, we're sharing.
It's the ancient Hindu idea of the Brahman who goes to sleep and he dreams that he's many people, and then we wake up in the end and we're the Brahman again.
Yeah. So it's a shared lucid dream. God isn't
Shared.
the same kind of. So it's not like there's like you. It's not like I'm a person and you're. What I'm saying is that everyone is a little part of God's mind, and so it's not like God is God. You can conceive of God as, classical theism has God conceived as a separate person, like you would talk to your friend, right?
So God is part Ted Bundy, part Ted Nugent. Great.
Yes. You are the rapist and the rapee.
Okay, Tom, tell me
That
where
puts a
you're
new spin
at.
on the. That puts a new
Tell me
spin
where
on
you're
the
at with this, and I'll tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 whether or not I'm 100% with you, because I think I'm 100% with you without you saying it.
All right, so the issue is, and this is what I've heard this before. This is just kind of a speculation, right? So, if you start to
Is this the after show? Yeah,
Right.
I was looking at it.
Go ahead and continue with the Brahman thing.
So basically, once you start to believe that it's this case, then the weird stuff starts happening in exactly the same way that once you realize you're in a lucid dream, you can do strange things. Of course, it's a much more diluted effect, supposedly, because it's,
Okay, I see what you're saying. Where are you going with it?
So that's kind of, you're asking why not everyone sees these effects, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
So here's the catch, right? Remember in the Bible, Jesus was saying, Peter, that story where Peter was walking on the water and all that, and then Peter starts to disbelieve, and then he starts to sink?
Yes.
Now, think of that same event happening in a lucid dream, and suddenly the whole scenario, including Jesus saying you sink because you didn't have faith, the whole thing suddenly makes sense.
But here's the chink in the armor, is that I really did believe just as much as everybody else and didn't have those experiences. As I not only really did believe in the Christian theology, but for a short time really believed in the Brahman theology, that idea. And I never had any of those experiences.
I don't know what to say. I could say, now I will tell you particularly that Alex in this case, he was actually tampering with stuff. He was actually seeking the stuff out, which may help explain it.
Well, yeah, if you're looking for it, then you find what you're looking for. Then,
he said he was an atheist at the time, and he said he was deathly afraid that there was no afterlife, and so he, just to set his mind at ease, he was going to try and go to extreme lengths to see if there actually was an afterlife, and he convinced himself pretty well. I won't go into the details of it, but you'll see.
Why did he give a shit? Was he scared of the before life?
Well, no, but you know what I'm saying. Like the whole concept of, maybe you're not scared of it, but I can imagine, I can conceive of people being scared of the concept of just blinking out of existence.
Oh yeah, definitely. I went through that for quite a long time.
That was his problem. That was his problem, and so he went.
Until I realized that it's all based in the ego, in us grabbing onto ourselves, and just we're scared of ourselves not existing forever. And when you give up this grasping for the ego, then all that melts away.
All right, Mr. Zen Master. Okay.
Yeah, you're the Zen Master, buddy.
I think that's an unsupported assertion, you fucking cat.
What if I told you that we'd all go to hell if we didn't believe in your cat? But did your cat ever die for me? I hope so.
Schrodinger's cat. He did it in a box. It was in a box.
Yeah. I can't see your camera. All I see is the Sirstrife picture with the machine gun.
I have no evidence of your cat, Sirstrife.
No, seriously. All I got, no, it's the picture. You don't have a video right now.
I see it.
Oh, no, I'm not on Bug.
I see it.
I can see it. It's a cute little cat.
Well, yeah, I agree. Pussy runs the universe.
That's specific pussy.
You have to always feed the pussy.
What the fuck are you talking about?
We went onto a comical digression.
My pussy could take your pussy. Well, I have two of them actually. I have a big boy and a dainty little girl. Okay. Okay, my girl would run away, but the boy would probably stand up to you.
Are you promoting sexism in cats? That's a question. Isn't that what?
And this discussion just fell into the Twilight Zone.
How do you know that? No, I'm just kidding.
God likes hairballs apparently. That's why he makes them.
Okay, I heard the cat. That's evidence enough for me.
Yeah, but
actually, there's an interesting point that I was going to bring to side 10 on this that you mentioned, and it made me think when you said that I saw the cat, I believe the cat. That's enough for me. Do you claim to have faith?
Me?
No, man. Come on.
Side 10.
Rattz, dude.
Oh, to some extent, though. This is me personally. I'm not going to explain some of this, but like, I have probably less faith than some people because I've seen some pretty crazy crap that most people haven't had the luxury of seeing. Well, I'm not crazy. You've talked to... Okay, well, at that point, you can question anyone's rationality. Okay, I can have multiple people seeing the same thing, and
the thing is,
and I can give you kind of an explanation of some of this stuff.
Our unverified experiences are not evidence to ourselves or anyone else.
Well, the question is.
Well, they are evidence to ourselves.
Yeah, if you doubt your own experiences, you have to start with your own experiences.
Have you ever heard of the Challenger experiment, where the professor had his students write down an essay in regards to exactly what happened, what they were doing at the time of the Challenger experiment, and then 3 or 4 years later, at the end of their university course, he had them write another paper detailing exactly what they experienced, and then it was only like a few years later, and it was something like 50% got most of the major details wrong. You can't trust your memory or your experiences even out to 3 years.
It depends on how striking.
So this study was evidence of something, though?
It was evidence of the fallacy, the shortcomings.
How do I know that you're not making this up and that my experience?
No. The point is.
Well, no, that's being pedantic. You can go and look it up. I'm just saying I read this in a number of cases.
The irony in what he's saying is that somebody had to experience the results of that for you to be able to sit there and marshal it as evidence.
No, but what I'm saying,
evidence against what you're using to argue for.
If you can videotape your experience, yes, it becomes evidence. But your brain can't do that. Therefore, it isn't evidence because your brain is fallible. And a few years later, you can remember it differently.
Yeah, but if you're going to dismiss experience as the fundamental base of all evidence, then the evidence you just cited would be impossible to cite. Somebody had to experience that.
No, it's not because it's written down on paper.
It refutes your evidence to say that.
You can record it. You record it. You quantify it. It's there. You can compare it to other. You can use it. You can scientifically verify.
And none of that matters unless all that is experienced directly by you personally.
No. Yes, but real experience is. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm saying that you can't remember it correctly. You can't rely on your own memory of your own experiences. You can't take your own experiences as evidence unless you videotape them.
I understand.
Well, okay, so that's already something drastically different, but.
I understand because he's saying he can come back and see exactly what was experienced because it's written down.
Yeah, but you see, that itself is already an experience that you're drawing upon to try to verify another. You're trying to verify another experience by another experience.
What I'm saying is,
some of these experiences
if all these experiences have to be verified externally somehow in order to say that they're justified, then you're left with an infinite regress of experiences to justify experiences, and you'll never get to one that's justified outside of itself.
Yeah, but you videotape it. That's what I'm talking about. You record it. It becomes evidence because.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying because you experienced the video, how do you trust your experience? But you're thinking of the point. You're not thinking of the point emergently enough. You're thinking of it too, like you can't trust your experience immediately, which is not what he's saying. He's saying
Yeah, but it's never about that. You hear these miracles. You hear these experiences. I saw this. This person saw this. They're relating something that happened many, many years in the past, and their memory. It has been scientifically demonstrated that your memory changes over time.
Well, that's why they
Sure.
some stuff.
So you bring the supernaturally. Oh, I experienced this a decade ago. You know what happens to your brain in a decade?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but the thing is that I remember this specifically happening. Like I was there the 5 minutes.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what this experiment.
He had it recorded.
This experiment demonstrated.
But not. He had it recorded some of the stuff on Facebook, like the.
But this experiment demonstrated that your own personal experiences, visual, auditory, your perception of this changes over time. You have to hold up evidence to a higher standard. Human memory is not evidence.
Well, I wasn't ever talking about memory. I don't think.
Oh, that's what I was talking about.
I mean, that's.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
We have 2 corroborating accounts.
Actually, I have to go too.
A couple.
Don't go with me. I just joined. I don't even know what the hell you guys were really talking about. No.
What the heck? Oh, that was so rude. That was so rude, man.
It was hilarious.
I would be so offended if you did that to me.
I would not.
Don't you even dare.
That's the fun part. I figured he was going to jump on my side when I.
Well, then he can't very well blame you for doing that to him, can he?
He's actually. I gotta check out some more of his videos because he sounds like a cool guy.
So us laughing at him right now is his own brain doing it.
It's
that would be interesting. That would actually be. I would enjoy that. That would be a very quality. Right. But it would be interesting to pick his brain for the sake of it, even though we wouldn't. Yeah. Even though we wouldn't come to agreement. I would actually like to see what he would think about the physics and how it would actually very well solve. I know, but it would fit if I showed him some of that. It would fit very well into his position. Yeah, well, you could interpret the data as though it's confirming solipsism as well. So.
All right. Well, wrapping up. Thank you for inviting me. This was a blast. I mean, even though it devolved into Dramagate and other ridiculous nonsense things, it was fun, and I'd gladly do it again. Oh no!
You have a solipsist and a monistic idealist here. This is going to drive everyone.
He brought himself back.
Well, why
he imagine? Well, it's all in his head. We're all hallucinations in his head.
No. Please, that's wrong. Anyways,
I know.
Don't let me interrupt.
So somebody else gives some closing statements. The realist, go ahead.
Oh yeah, the nihilist who's
the realistic. Yes.
Nihilist. Okay. I don't know what the fuck I think about this show, but I enjoyed being a part of it for the time I was here.
But it was a fucking blast, wasn't it?
It was.
And everybody check out the Realistic Nihilist channel.
Or don't. No,
check it out and subscribe, especially if you don't want to watch his videos.
Yeah, especially if you don't want to watch my videos. Really, it's not about anything. They're just fun.
No, sub to this guy's channel. He's awesome.
Well, I appreciate being on his show again. It's always fun as usual. It's a great bunch of people, and appreciate Rattz giving us some fun stuff to talk about. As much as I know the week goes by, and I remain unconvinced.
Hell yeah.
could bring in my friend Alex next week as a kind of a surprise. And we could then tie into how it could fit into an idealist paradigm with his story. Criticism.
We always love shredding theists.
Okay, and I do the same, and it's actually funny because I've got a lot of... I am a theist. Okay. No, I'm shredding atheists, sorry. I shred atheists.
Well, are you a Christian or are you just a deist or something?
I'm a Christian. I have some kind of weird beliefs, though, too. Like, I'm a esoteric... I'm a panentheist as well, so...
Oh, okay.
I'm not I have beliefs that you would identify as traditional Christian beliefs, but they're, a paradigm that you might not recognize immediately. So, yeah. I do have...
Maybe we should have bullet points sometime, because sometimes it seems like we go on a little bit too long about some things that...
Bullet points would be good.
Yeah, but if we have general ideas to talk about, and we can to help us get off of the morass of some of these things that just seem to go on forever. Actually, that's my number one suggestion. Get Neil deGrasse Tyson on here. I mean, seriously, email Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson telling you what.
I don't. Right. No, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with the way the show goes. I don't have a problem. We just talking with you guys about whatever, And but if you wanted it to be more structured, you could put a format and a time frame for everything, and then try to work and then think about the way you want to divide up the people in there. Like, say there are 6 people, and you give a 30-minute allotment for a specific topic. Say you cover 4 topics in a show and make a 2-hour show, or then you give a 30-minute allotment, and then you have to work each person's perspective in that allotment. And at the final one, or like you could have 3 topics per show, and at the final topic would just be a discussion. That would be a more structured thing if that's what you're looking for.
I sort of agree with that. I would maybe add just an overall topic just to grab our viewers. Tonight's topics are... Yeah, well, some sort of overall theme, and then we break it down from there throughout the show.
We could take videos and discuss videos, like watch a video like beforehand and discuss it.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Has anybody here seen Live Life's show when he was running it there, the Skeptic Fence show? Anybody watch that when it was around?
A little bit.
No, he hasn't.
Dramagate.
Well, yeah, Dramagate is one thing, but prior to Dramagate, I mean, the show was actually heading up and doing pretty good. And what he did was he would do a little atheism news and talk about it. So that's just something else we can consider doing.
That's what he did. They'd play clips and talk about them. I'll be on next week, I guarantee you. It was Easter. It was like... Yeah.
Well, heck, Live Life did the show by himself, and once in a while when Negation wasn't there, he'd have somebody else in. He would just have a guest host. Yeah, you can roll with that for a lot, a long time.
All right, see you later.